primarily servicing the railroad, which was just a couple hundred yards out the front door, so people coming and going all the time. One of the original owners of the building was this gentleman right here. That's who we affectionately refer to as the captain. Captain Coolers was his name. He was one of the first people to really come to the area and settle, like build a family and a life and all that. Very strong ties to the building. A lot of people claim to run into this dude up on the second floor, which I'll show you where all that fun stuff happens. This room, I should also say, kind of doubled as a gentleman's parlor also. So where the guys would sit around and sip their whiskey and smoke their stogies and all that fun stuff. But the building itself, it ran as a hotel all the way up until the 1950s. So it had a pretty good run, really. It becomes at that point what we would consider to be more of like a nursing home type setting.
Okay.
The nursing home doesn't last very long. In the 70s, they're shut down because the hallways aren't wide enough to support transporting patients properly. And so this is where it becomes the group home, servicing any form of mental disorder you could possibly imagine, really. So anything from people with Down syndrome to drug and alcohol abuse, very common ailments that we see every day, to the opposite side of the coin, people with DID and multiple personalities.
Schizophrenia.
Schizophrenics and even murderers are housed here. Like, this is a very eclectic group of people kind of coexisting together for sure. So the clientele is what kind of fascinated me the most, really.
Right.
Now I always say, like, everything is how we found it. Like, so I haven't touched anything. I barely vacuum. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But like, with that being said, like, don't feel like you're walking around a museum. All right. So if you want to, I think you're more than welcome to sit in the wheelchairs, lie in the beds, try on the clothes in the dresser drawers. Okay. Like, whatever you guys feel is going to elicit a response.
Okay.
Do it for sure. Because I mean, I love to correlate data and evidence and all that fun stuff, and we're all in this together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but let's cruise this way, guys.
Oh, the staircase.
Oh, wow.
It's awesome.
Oh, that's neat. And guys, this is what we call Gracie's room. Gracie was definitely one of those exotic type of patients. So she was multiple personality, but also schizophrenic on top of all of that. But a very chaotic mind state. They would hear male voices coming from Gracie's room, and obviously have to check that out. Like, having a guy in a girl's room is a big time no-no, so they would have to come see. But they would open the door, and every time they would find it was just her. That she was able to shift her voice to sound male. One evening we know of in particular, 3 nurses came and sat with her for just an hour. And during this hour, they documented 13 separate distinguishable personalities, which is damn near medically unheard of, honestly. Like, they say the wheelhouse is about 2 to 5. So for that, I mean, it's pretty impressive, really. So anyway, again, everything is how we found it. Now, I will say, this creepy ass doll has been added. Everything on the shelf has been added except for these glasses, which were original to this room. They were just sitting right here on this shelf. People bring gifts and toys and things like that all the time. And she does tend to gravitate more towards male investigators for whatever reason, right? So have fun with that. Now, guys, this is the section of the building. This is the newest section. It was put on in 1956 just to kind of accommodate that nursing home. So wider door frames, a lot of laminate flooring in these rooms as well. Still have names here on all the medicine cabinets. Obviously, any sensitive information.
Yeah, this is kind of like a nurse's area, wasn't it?
Yep, this was the nurse's station or whatever. But guys, down here specifically, this is where people are experiencing what we just call the shadow man phenomenon. Typically, it's all the way down the hall and on the right-hand side, that last room on the right down there. That's room number 2. And typically, it's a very tall, black humanoid figure that'll come out of the room, turn, and then run at people. Now, this is a very unnatural type of motion, like quite literally the distance of whatever that is, 30 feet, maybe more. It's traveling that distance in less than a second, so it is moving quite fast.
Okay.
So your reaction is pretty carnal, honestly. It's
Right.
like a fight or flight type of
Oh
thing.
yeah.
Now this is also, I mean, what'll send the majority of people out the front door. But like me being here all the time and observing and getting to hear the stories and see some of the evidence and all that, nobody's getting hit or scratched or punched or any of that. I don't know what the fuck that was. But anyway. So to me, it may be suggesting something residual, right? The day after Paranormal Lockdown aired, one of the nurses that used to work here got a hold of me and she said the gentleman that occupied room 2 was 6'7", nonverbal, mentally deranged, had killed a few people in the past. So his little claim to fame apparently was whenever they were doing bed checks, he would come out of his room and he would chase the nursing staff. And I was like, fuck.
Oh.
Because, I mean, we're seeing similar behavior.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, maybe something residual.
Yeah.
Right.
The problem is we don't know what the antecedent of that would be, right? The time of day certainly doesn't seem to make a difference.
Right.
Weather patterns, moon phases, like it
Okay.
doesn't seem to matter. We've documented this as often as 4 times a day. So it's significant, like
Right.
it's happening. We just don't know why. So
Yeah.
but
Awesome.
it's insane.
Wow.
It's insane. Now here,
With the body order room.
Pool table. All right.
right? We used to have pool balls. Somebody stole them. Like fucking savages, man. Like I don't know why they
Yeah.
would do that.
Yeah, like why would you take pool? Like I hear of like stuff getting stolen from locations, but
Yeah.
it's just like pool balls
the
of all
pool
things.
balls?
Like what the hell would you do with those?
Bunch of horse shit.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, the lady that was brought in over here, so she was in her mid-30s, so she was quite young. She was dropped off by her husband, which apparently was something you could just do back in the day. But she thought, obviously, my husband doesn't love me. He doesn't find me attractive. But this became like the obsession for her, right? So much so, like she would stand at the sink looking into the mirror. She would pluck the hair out of her head, like one by one, which there's a medical term for that, but I would probably butcher it if I tried.
Right.
But we know because of all of this like obsessive type behavior, she was heavily medicated, but it didn't really react well with her for whatever reason. She stopped eating, she stopped drinking, she just wasted away. So it's one of the more sad stories that we have for sure. Female investigators seem to have the most luck in this room for sure. So maybe Jill and Angie would want to take a crack at it. or
Yeah.
something. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love the staircase. Yeah.
I like it. So guys, another thing that we did was hired a private detective. We did a 3-week-long investigation, just really digging up the history of the place. Then I had him spend another week up here just to kind of address some of the weird stains and smears and markings along the walls, which continues throughout the entire hallway. I'll shut the door here just to show you a little better, but like here on the door of room 22, it's been smeared into the door pretty good. Around the corner, like it's very obvious somebody grabbed that. Another large stain here. So 3 different tests, 3 different sections of the hallway. Each time came back positive for human blood. So I mean, that is what you're observing.
Okay.
So yeah, probably don't touch it because it's nasty. But he was also able to tell us that it was the same person, whoever it was. Now,
Right.
like the names on the cabinets, I certainly don't want to step on toes of
Right.
family. So, like, that's probably enough information.
Right. Yep. Stop there.
Yeah.
Like, how it got here, why it was never cleaned up are all really good questions
Right.
and probably never going to have a definitive answer to. Now, this area is where people are experiencing the captain the most.
Okay.
Now, usually it's just like a disembodied voice asking things like, what's your business? Sometimes just flat out telling people things like, F off. People have been scratched, punched, bit, kicked. It's not a very fun experience. Now, I will also say that's usually following a fair amount of provoking, right? So I'm not saying they're asking for it, but I mean, maybe
you
they're
are.
asking for it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I've never had a problem with him. So this is Susie's room. Now Susie was a middle-aged patient, but mentally probably closer to about 8 or 9. So we found a lot of coloring books and activity books, and now people have obviously started to add to her collection. We openly invite people to color in the books or whatever you want to do. The interesting thing for this room, for me anyway, is that the activity seems to just be contained to the room, and every other resident spirit around here is fairly transient. They'll follow you and mess with you, but she stays put. Tried to coax her out of the room a few hundred different times, like setting up board games and fun stuff like that. It's always the same response. I can't leave. I'm scared. He won't let me leave is a big one. I don't know who he is, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we'd love to find out one day, that's for sure.
Okay.
And then guys down here on the right, this is
Inez.
Inez's room. So, guys, this is like the biggest unsolved mystery we have, right? But this is Inez's room. The story with Inez Gibson is we know the year was 1900. It was December 21st, so right around Christmas time. 12-year-old Inez Gibson was outside playing with her 8-year-old brother Otto. She's cold or bored, but she says, I'm going upstairs. 10 minutes pass, Otto comes upstairs, finds his sister hanging by her jump rope in the closet. It looks like a suicide, smells like a suicide. Like, these kids had a pretty rough go of life up until this point. A lot of newspapers reported it as a suicide. Her death certificate says accidental death, so it's like, it's a hell of an accident, you know? I just don't know who to believe.
Right.
We do know Otto tried to get her down, and he couldn't because he's just 8 years old. He's not strong enough. He runs to the grocery store. He grabs aunt and uncle, who had just become adopted mom and dad. Again, shit-tastic go of life up until now. They grab 2 doctors as well. They race back. They get her down. They try to help. Way too much time had passed. There's no help in her.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting to me is like one of the most active spirits we have here is a little girl claiming to be Inez Gibson, right? You'll audibly hear her running up and down the hall. She'll call you by name. She'll ask you to come and play. Like really weird things like that. But we also know definitively that Inez Gibson never died here. She died just catty corner across the street. So why in her afterlife she would be choosing to be here, we have no idea. Other than the fact that, like, I would suggest she's certainly receiving a lot of attention. People bring, gifts and toys and money. Some people are bringing jump ropes, which, maybe in poor taste. I don't know. But like, use that as a trigger object too. Sure. So yeah, we just don't know exactly why.
Okay.
Right.
Wow. Hank's room.
Yeah. So this is Hank's room or Henry's room, and I always say it just kind of depends on the day and what he wants to be called. You're very stereotypical grumpy old man. Like he would sit on the front porch and throw rocks at kids and things like that, so he's just kind of a dick. But he has a very strong dislike for females, does not enjoy the company of ladies at all. So Jill and Ange might be really good bait for you guys later. He'll pretty much call them any vulgar name you can imagine, right? But again, everything is how we found it, including even some of the items of clothing here in the dresser drawer, which the clothes themselves kind of seem to be that catalyst, right, for the activity. So messing with the clothes, folding the clothes, ladies putting on the clothes, maybe making light of the fact that you're wearing the clothes, usually seems to piss them off pretty good. There's fingernail clippings in the top drawer over here, which is kind of disgusting.
Huh.
Apparently a thumbtack too, but I mean,
Oh
just
yeah.
nasty stuff. Like, again, things that we've found that we just haven't touched. Nothing I'm gonna.
And
touch.
he loved his dressers though, obviously.
Apparently. I
Yeah.
don't know why anybody would need
4 or 5 dressers.
Guys, definitely when the sun sets, watch your step here. It slants like a wheelchair ramp. Now these 2 rooms, I had the nursing staff walk me through the building, just kind of walking me down memory lane. What they told me was a gentleman over here in room 18 pretty much had the whole like bed check schedule down to a science, right? They said 3 to 4 times a week, usually in the middle of the night, he'd sneak across the hall into room 17 and sexually assault the gentleman that was in this room. Now, there's over 150 pieces of documentation that would suggest this probably happened, right? But it always just kind of rubbed me the wrong way. So I'm like, 150 is an awful lot, right? You'd probably take one of these dudes out of the equation, you know, if that were happening and you knew it was happening. But they coexisted for at least 5 years. So again, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Doing a couple EVP sessions or whatever, we had Dustin Perry and we had KJ McCormick from Ghost Hunters. And we were in here asking very specific questions. Plain as day, this voice says that never happened. And so we're like, well, what did happen? And he said, I loved him. And then over the next 2 hours, the spirit suggested that these two were in fact a couple, loved each other very much. Now, I also know that any form of sexual anything has to be documented, no matter what it may be, which may lend itself to why we would have so much documentation, but then maybe why they weren't separated, because maybe it wasn't an actual issue to begin with. I'm not sure. Like some of the best EVPs I've ever got have been from those 2 rooms.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Now guys, this here is the attic.
Very narrow.
Oh, geez. Yeah, it is.
Real narrow.
Oh, yeah, it's
That's not meant for big guys.
How would you make get anything up here? No, I don't have any. I couldn't even imagine. Can you imagine getting a bed up here?
Oh my gosh.
No, you wouldn't. You couldn't even get around the curve. Guys, we don't know what the purpose of the attic was, but there's trim and baseboards, moldings, paint. Even this old chimney's got a paint job on it. And they knocked this down because it was the cause of all the fire damage above.
You see the fire?
Yep.
Oh. So, usually, guys, it's a lot of growling, scratching, disembodied voices telling you to fuck off, die. I'm Satan himself. A lot of people will get physically sick as well after about 30, 45 minutes. It's kind of weird. Like the majority of the noises are coming from just behind, like the walls here, right? So initially, like when I was here, I thought probably like a family of raccoons or something. Like it's an old ass building. It's very feasible that an animal would get in here. Now the only place I can really kind of squeeze through is on back here on either side. There are these crawl spaces. So I've been back through 8 different times now, specifically looking for carcass or droppings or anything to suggest something is or was alive, right? And the only things that I have found back here are very personal items, like a tobacco pouch, playing cards, keys, crushed up packs of smokes, things like that. But nothing suggesting an animal yet, right? Now, whoever this is doesn't enjoy the company of people and will tell you those horrible things, but then beg you for alcohol and cigarettes, which is why we have this cute little collection over here. You know, like it's not just me on a tough day. You know? He's
like, sorry, I didn't clean up from last night.
It's like, son of a bitch.
Bush light.
The bush latte.
Black and mild, dude. I might
Oh yeah.
Wood tip too. That's the good shit.
Got some Jack. And some Jim. Yeah. It's the good stuff.
Gotta have a bush latte for sure.
It's the nectar of the gods.
Yeah.
Guys. I love it.
Yeah, Dave, you're the fireman. You've probably seen stuff attics like this before, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Normally when we look like that, the whole house.
Oh yeah.
How weird is that?
This staircase is crazy. So skinny.
It's like you hope and pray they weren't suicidal, right? It's super weird.
And here's the timeout room.
That was the timeout closet, which it almost makes me wonder
They
if
even
up
have
in the attic wasn't some form of a timeout
Maybe.
as well. 'Cause it's like,
Yeah.
what the hell were they using it for?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you certainly wouldn't finish a room if it was just for storage or
Right.
something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
I wouldn't waste my goddamn time.
I'm like,
I don't know.
the whole blood spatter thing just blows me away.
So check this out too, and I don't know, like we just saw this a while ago,
Oh yeah,
but I don't know if that's,
that's a lot.
but I
Yeah.
don't know if that's blood, because we didn't have this tested, because I didn't know this was here,
Right.
and so it's, I don't know. There's
You
that
think, Nick?
weird, you see this weird stuff here that's almost like sparkly?
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but it's dusty for sure. I mean, it's just like a dust.
Huh.
So I don't know what that is. Maybe fiberglass or some shit. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it's part of the ceiling. I don't know.
It just looks like.
Well, like it's all over.
It
Yeah, it looks.
does.
Yeah,
Even-
it looks like blood.
Yeah, it's all the
Oh,
way up
yeah.
there too.
Yeah, it is.
So I just don't know what that shit is.
Ah, that there has got to be an interesting story though behind that. I would certainly think.
Probably.
Yeah, that's blood. It's
all
gotta
over
be.
all the walls. So check this out too, guys, and I'll show you this. Here. There. Yep. I wonder if that even kind of like starts here.
Right.
You know, there's a little here. So, the story that the nursing staff told me that there's no factual basis to, so I can't really just come out and say it. But there was a gentleman that took over ownership of this place towards the latter part of its life. And this was his office right over here, this big room with the bay window. So this was apparently his office. It was kind of interesting to me just because the story that these nurses told me is his desk was right over here. And there was a client or resident or whatever you want to call, who was standing right here at the door, wanted something. I don't know what, but was asking the owner guy for it. This guy says no. This dude was pretty adamant that he wanted whatever it was. This guy lost his temper, shoves him against the wall, and literally kicked his ass all the way back up to his room. Like just beat the shit out of him all the way up to his room. I don't know if that was maybe the cause of that. Like you would
Right.
think if that was the cause of it, it would have been cleaned up pretty damn quick.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
Hmm.
The place closed in 2005, so it really wasn't that long ago. So it kind of
Right.
also makes me wonder if maybe a squatter or somebody was in here and maybe
Right.
shit went down upstairs. I don't know.
Yeah.
Right. It is. It's weird that it was left there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just. That's
So like, if it was a facility, it'd be gone in 10 minutes. It'd be
Right.
cleaned up in 10 minutes.
Right.
But that's what leads me to think like this was somewhat after
Right.
everything
Yeah.
was said and done.
So I'm sure they had to go through inspections, like yearly inspections.
Yeah,
or...
so in the last inspection that they had was February 15th of 2005, and there was no heat in the building. Like, I mean, fuck, you know,
Right.
it's like February in Iowa, you know, it gets
Yeah.
pretty chilly.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, that kind of lends to like the neglect charges, the abuse charges, all that stuff that kind of, there was a lot of insurance fraud that kind of came out in the wash. Turns out the owner guy didn't even have the proper licensure to pass an aspirin to somebody. He was just kind of piggybacking off his wife's, which I guess is a common tale. Like
Yeah. Huh.
it's not a strange story, I guess. It's just weird that
Right.
Right.
it would even fucking happen.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Oh wow.
But guys, that's the place. Let me show you
Awesome.
over here though, real quick.
we're using your balls, right?
It's like anything you need.
I'm back from a tour and you want to use my balls. That's awesome.
Yes.
Can we go on another one?
Oh my god.
I don't even know why this is here, but just on the opposite side of the wall here, there's a unit that does control the heat.
Okay, cool.
Go up with it, go down with it. Turn on the AC if you want. I don't give a fuck.
No.
No.
Yeah, it did get cold last night because I turned it off because I walked in here. I go, Jesus Christ! Like I couldn't even breathe. It was so hot in here.
Oh.
That
Are you
sucks.
live? And I just asked if we could use your balls. Are you live?
I'm not live, no.
Oh, dear God.
No. I'm just videoing. I will probably put it on YouTube or something later.
Yeah. He's like, oh, it's going up somewhere.
Check out YouTube.
Oh, God.
Yeah, you'll be on there.
She wants to use my balls.
Nobody would be surprised.
Awesome.
That's the place. So
Yeah, fantastic.
get comfy.